much. Can you hear it? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Thank you. So if you all can mute your mics so the echo problem can be solved. Okay, thank you very much. So once again, I'm grateful from the giving back to pharmacy in Pakistan, and I'm proud to be a part of this team as well. I'm really grateful from my colleagues working out of countries and within the country. And today, I'll just stick with the topic that is a little bit serious topic, but that is actually unaddressed within our country. So we are very much familiar with the healthcare waste, and today I will try to cover the things that is particularly with the pharmaceutical waste. So I have nothing to disclose. The picture in the presentations used are for the educational purpose only. Just a lighter note, we have obviously a different sort of plannings within 2020, but reality is something different, and we people are enjoying. That's a life with the family. We explore the different concepts. We explore that what is the actual beauty with living with the family, and just to share the slide that I feel like that. Okay, can we move to next slide, please? So the waste and the healthcare waste is one of the common example with the particular staff or the hospital personnel who are working within a facility in which the health and the waste and the concept is very much important. Especially my colleagues who belongs to the hospital setups and the students who want to move with the hospital setup, like in a hospital pharmacist working scenarios, they come encounter with the concept of the healthcare waste. So these definitions are coming from the one of the United Nations Environmental Program, and they address that the total waste stream from the healthcare facility is in a healthcare waste. So this echo sound actually making disturbance a lot, particularly for the presenter as well. Okay, so I'll try to remove my headphones and I'll just use my speaker, so at least I'll not disturb myself. So once you talk about the healthcare waste, there are different sort of products that includes the sharps, non-sharps, blood products, chemical, and the pharmaceuticals, and the medical devices and the radioactive materials. So actually the pharmaceuticals are always unaddressed, especially being working in a hospital setting. I have observed that it's not taking as a primary, or it's not taking as a serious concern that the pharmaceutical waste should meet some separate standards which need to be addressed. So next slide, please. So history is very, the concept of the medical waste rises up in late 80s when one of the spring tide incident happened in New Jersey, New York. They observed that the huge number of hypodermic syringes came as in a raw garbage on the beaches, and they forced them to close the beaches at Atlantic Coast, because they observed that these sort of the medical waste comes from definitely from some medical facility which was dumped in some medical or you can say in a shore, where basically the consequences on the environment, on the humans was observed, and that makes sense that how to take the hospital waste and healthcare waste in a logical manner. Next, please. Next, please. So once we talk about the WHO, they address a certain key facts that the medical waste are divided into two forms. One is called the healthcare activities waste, that's the non-hazardous waste, which is most and the major number of the healthcare waste, and the remaining 15% of the hazardous material, which includes infections, toxic and radioactive substances. In journal, they mentioned that the 16 billion injections are administered worldwide. So you can assess that what a huge number of injections are administered in the worldwide. So the wastage or for the management of that waste is essential part. Open burning is one of the very common concept like situation in Pakistan, and they lead to different dioxin, furans, and particular matters in the environment, and definitely damaging the environment as well. So, Maria, to ensure the safe and environmentally sound management of the healthcare waste can prevent the adverse health and environmental impact of such waste, including the unintended release of chemical or the biological hazards, including drug resistance microorganism into the environment, thus protecting the health patients, health workers, and the general public. So types of waste includes these are the infectious waste, pathological waste, sharps, chemicals, non-hazardous materials, and these are common. And once we talk about the hospital waste, these are the major things which come into the mind. But as I've discussed earlier, that the pharmaceutical waste, which includes expired, unused, or contaminated drugs and vaccines, that's also a part of the this type of the waste. Other than that, some certain hospital they are which very much focused with the cytotoxic drugs like we do have, and this is one of the essential things which need to be addressed while we are talking about the waste management. And at the end, the radioactive waste management, this is another thing that's required some separate standards, and that should be also addressed under the waste category. So usually the high income countries, they have observed there's a huge number of the waste it produce hazardous material that's approximately 500 grams per bed per day wastage as compared to the low income countries where the material is less than that of the high income countries. Usually the concept of the waste is divided into three parts. So one is the sharps, liquids, and solids. Next slide, please. So once we talk about the legislation in the Southeast Asia, you can see with the slides that the documentation process still requires a lot of improvement. Particularly if we talk about the Pakistan, we have a basic legislation system, but we have not a legislation standards that meets the actual requirements. And the second aspect is that the practicality, which is still questionable. Next, please. The situation in Pakistan, we have approximately 100,000 beds in public sector hospital and a lot of the beds in private sector hospital as well. And continuously, we are having a high population country, which will be just forecast is that will be 215 million in 2025. The amount of hospital waste generated will increase the alarming rates due to the growth of population and the healthcare facility. Unfortunately, we are still not very well established segregation system. Frequent dumping of hospital waste into the municipal waste is very common, and that is a lot of time is addressed. Major source of water-based pollutions, lapses in landfill design. We have a very good sort of landfill country, but still we are challenging with this type of substances. Maintenance and monitoring of the issues of the incinerator, the concept of incinerated and the number of the incinerators are not very much. Within the country, we have very limited facilities where the incinerators are available. So once we talk about the local laws, local rules and regulations, so we have one hospital waste management rules which was developed in 2005, and no further amendments came into the that help us to improve it over the last 15 years. Whereas the Punjab Health Waste Management developed the rules which is exact replica of 2005 rules. Unfortunately, that's again not very helpful. On the other hand, there are a certain number of the guidelines of the hospital management, specific guidelines for incinerator, training manual, and for the paramedics. These are usually developed at the individual hospital level, but there is no black and white documents that's available at the government level that's help us to improve or to make a reference that how to proceed with this type of standards. Next, please. So guideline for safe disposal of unwanted pharmaceuticals basically affects on two ways. That expired drugs amplify financial losses. Obviously, within being a practicing pharmacist in Pakistan, we have observed a lot of challenges with regards to the expired drugs. Management of the expired drugs, with the correspondence with the supplier, to make all those efforts clear, that's a huge challenging thing. Expired drugs must be disposed of safely. That's another question. There's no black and white rule available. So I'll just discuss few things that how we are dealing with this all those stuff. The good management, drug good management system include that the FIFO concept we have in like orders, negotiation with the supplier, all these things. These are very good. They are still in practice, but at the end of the day, you have to deal with the expired, unwanted, and you can say outdated drugs, and that is still one of the challenge within the country. Next, please. So actually, what actually is expired or unwanted pharmaceuticals are? In a very clear picture, anything which is beyond their use date is an expired pharmaceuticals. Unsealed syrups and eye drops. Usually, we don't consider them an expired medicine because we deal that if it's not required, so we just dispose of in any ordinary manner. Another case in a cold chain damage unexpired pharmaceuticals. Usually, unfortunately, within a country, we don't have a very good cold chain pharmaceutical management system, so we can identify that these drugs are out of their required temperature and they should be dealt on in a separate way. But there should be there that's in a part of unwanted pharmaceuticals. Then comes the bulk and the loose tablets and the capsules and the unsealed tubes, creams, ointment. Usually, if we talk about a practicing pharmacist within a country, they only discuss about the drugs which are expired. So they don't have the concept which is outdated. They don't have the concept which drugs which are open and unsealed syrup. That how to deal those stuff. Next, please. So there are certain ways of sorting of the pharmaceuticals. So one, you can see you can sort it out based on their ingredients, their active ingredients. For example, you can make them in controlled substances, anti-infective drugs, anti-neoplastic, cytotoxic. You can segregate your pharmaceuticals. On the other way, sorted on the basis of their dosage form. For example, solid, semi-solid, powders, liquids, aerosols. So, if you generally talk about any pharmacist working in a community or in a
Sorry, sorry, sir. Umar, can you please wrap up within 3 minutes because your time is.
yeah, sure, no problem, no
Yeah,
problem.
please.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So these are the certain, yeah, these are the certain ways. One of them is SHP guidelines and the NIOSH guidelines. That's really helpful. How you can segregate your hazardous substances or the hazardous drugs. Next, please. So these are the four RICRA listed waste lists. That the concept of this F list, A list, P list, U list is not totally. I've never seen that is a practicing within Pakistan, but that's really helpful for the pharmacists who are working within a country. They should go through this one. I'm not going to discuss in detail because of a shortage of time. We have observed a lot of this type of signages, but we should know, being in a pharmacist, what signages tells about and actually. So if you go from this RECRA list of the waste, I'll recommend all the audience that if you're interested to work on the waste management of the pharmaceutical, this is one of the key slides in which you should focus. Next, please. So these are the consequences of improper disposal or the non-disposal. Obviously, contamination of the water sources that can be misused with the children if you just throw into the garbage. Expired drugs can need to be marketed for the resale. Less efficacious maybe on the ADR side. Non-biodegradable may lead to the kill the bacteria that feeds the sewage system. Anti-neoplastic drugs should not be flushed into water phase that can affect the aquatic life. Burning of pharmaceutical at a low temperature obviously definitely producing a toxic chemical that's damage our environment. So these are the quick 9 ways of disposal method. One is the returning to donor, the manufacturer. That is usually not very helpful. Landfill is another one. Waste immobilization, which includes encapsulation, inertization, sewer, burning in open container, medium temperature incineration, novel high temperature incineration, chemical decomposition. Every one individual is requiring a quick discussion, but obviously with the shortage of time, we will not just go through into that. Next slide, please. So you can see these are the further details. These slides will be with you. You can just go through that. I can share the reference material of the WHO and NIOSH guidelines and the RICTA guidelines. That helps you to identify that what's the further details. Next, please. So these are the rest of the things. You can see that what's in a medium temperature incineration method, what's in a maximum high temperature incineration methods. So these are the recommended pharmaceutical waste streamline. This is again one of the Pharmacological Association LLC reference. That is really helpful, that how you can segregate and how you can treat your pharmaceutical material. So at the end, my last slide, please. Okay. So this is one of the article review that is published in Karachi. Go back, please. Go back, please. So this tells that what's the basically public opinion within Pakistan about the disposal of the expired pharmaceuticals. So if you just focus first question, so did you have any quantity purchased medicine remain unused and at your home? So the 80% population says yes. And then you ask, what do you do with the unused medicines? So the people says, 82% people says that we keep at home until they expire. So we are happy to expire them. What do you do with the expired medicine actually? So 82% population again said that we throw in the dustbin. And the same questions comes up, and the last question is the most important one, that what do you do with the best source of awareness of the society? How you can get the information that how to deal these expired medications. So the people recommended that it should be dealt with the newspaper, it should be dealt with the electronic media, it should be dealt with at the pharmacy and the physician level. But unfortunately, none of these elements are very much helpful within our country, because the people are not thinking about how to deal the expired medicine. They simply just wrap up and dump into the garbage. Next, please. Next, please. So I'll just take 1 more minute.
Yes, sir.
I have visited one of the FDA-approved pharmaceutical plants. They have a pond which have fishes tabbed. And I've just asked them what the pond is basically is that, and they said that we just treat our pharmaceutical wastage and throw into this pond, and then throw into the environment, and that shows if our fishes are live, so we are environment friendly pharmaceutical. So that's really eye opener for me, and I believe that this is one of the very good way to address such sort of pharmaceutical waste. Next slide. So with my apology, unfortunately, we know the things, we are very much clear with the things, but our focus is not clear that what we want to do. So once we talk about the policy, system, practices within the Pakistan, the top of one is required for the pharmaceutical waste, and that is helpful if the pharmacist working within the Pakistan give some input, so we can bring them up into the legislation body that this should be practice should be revised, and that should be addressed, so the new rules and the amendments can be made done. So next, please. Thank you very much from my side. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time, and we will take questions later on in the group, because we are already late in today's session. So our next in line speaker is Dr. Jibran Bin Yousuf, HOD Pharmacy Services, National Institute of Cardiovascular Disease.
Omar?
Yes, sir.
Omar, I think it's Dr. Yousaf.
Okay. Sorry. Dr. Yousaf Ahmad, he's Chief Pharmacist, Care UK. Dr. Yousaf, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sir. Now, next voice is from Dr. Yousaf, and you will share your screen.
I will do. So, inshallah, you should be able to see my screen.
Yes, doctor, we can see.
Wonderful, thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with everyone this evening. I pray and wish that your Ramadan has been fruitful, and we're in the last few days, and it's vital that we make note of that, as well as the platform of sharing information internationally. My name is Yousaf, and I'm a pharmacist in the UK, and I am probably leading on, excuse me, from the conversation by Dr. Rahina around leadership in pharmacy. Now, our dear Dr. Muhammad Siddiqui gave me 10 minutes to give you some insight into this, and leadership itself is a large journey. So I thought to myself, I'm here just to give you a flavour of some of the concepts for you to take away and act, and more importantly, for you to understand that leadership itself is a lifelong journey, and it requires constant effort and constant monitoring, but it's important to continually have those conversations with colleagues and peers. So as always, there's no major disclosures, and these slides are more for a talking point. I've included a deck for references at the end, which will give you all the necessary viewpoint. I will, inshallah, spend only 8 to 10 minutes at the most, as I know time is very short. The key learning objectives that I want to perhaps take away is to give you a flavour of the UK context when it comes to pharmacy leadership, and more importantly, the focus on how the risks around leadership in the pharmacy profession have been seen through the COVID outbreak. And every country internationally is going through their own journey in terms of COVID. And I think it's important to understand that these reflections are important for us to gather in detail. So I always start with the why. Why are we having this conversation? And I think the obvious answer is around COVID, but in particularly in the UK has suffered quite badly with COVID, with currently over 35,000 deaths related to COVID. And when you think about the population being around 70 million at the most, 65 to 70 million, that's a very high threshold. But I think for me, very, very prominently, the issue has been around healthcare deaths. So there has been over 100 healthcare workforce dying of COVID. That includes doctors, nurses, and more importantly, there's been there's been 6 actually pharmacy deaths related to COVID. And some people say that there's a number of factors associated to it, and rightly so there is. But I think one of the factors associated to pharmacy deaths is this vacuum, this lack of appropriate pharmacy leadership. And I think internationally, pharmacy has had a varying degree of representation within the leadership of healthcare. So when we talk about the ministries of health, when we talk about the leadership and the management within hospitals, but also when we talk about the power or the empowerment of pharmacy bodies within the different countries, I think we've always been on the back foot, and that has been more evident in COVID than any other time. And I think we as people on the front line, we as people in managing or leadership positions have to really take note that we have to start to uniform, both in terms of the voice that we have, but also in terms of the ability of our pharmacy bodies to influence those at the highest levels of healthcare. So this to me is always a stark reminder that there is an outcome if we don't have good leadership, and that outcome can be death sometimes. We have to acknowledge that pharmacy itself has changed entirely. And it will change post-COVID, and we have to understand that, but we also have to see this as an opportunity. This is an opportunity for us as a profession collectively to galvanize some of the change that we want to see, but equally be at the forefront of those discussions post-COVID, because I think the world will be totally different, and especially in the healthcare setting, it'll be totally different. This gives you a flavour of some of the things that have happened in the UK. We've set up new hospitals and more importantly, that the day-to-day management of pharmacy, both in hospitals and community and all other sectors, is massively different. And I think it's important just to recognize that. So I know time is very, very short. I am going to just give you a few key things to think about when we talk about leadership. And I think it's important to know is also that leadership, there is more than hundreds and thousands of different ways leadership is acted. If you were to Google leadership, you'll get over 4 billion hits of what leadership is. And Dr. Hina gave some examples of the different types of leadership. And that's very important to know and understand. But I think something more simple and more cellular is the values of leadership. And one of the things that I want you to take away is some of the values of leadership. I personally, having spent the last probably 10 years in talking about leadership, being in leadership journeys, I have seen perhaps some core simple values at the heart of leadership. And some of these values I want to share with you. One of the things I want to really tell you about it is leadership is about humanity. And what I mean by that is leadership is more than a title. It's more than being in a position. Leadership is at every single level. What I mean by that is that those that are in the admin department of your pharmacy, for example, they are in a leadership position similarly as the director-in-chief is in a leadership position. This is absolutely crucial. For us to understand how we would be better leaders is that we need to make sure that every single person within our team is a leader, and they are a leader, and they should be seen as a leader. And I think one of the crucial aspects here is around also understanding that if we don't take time to understand individuals, understand what makes them tick, we're never going to be good leaders. And I think pharmacy is very important in that we are the front line of health services. We need to be seen that we value and we describe and we act on a value such as care and compassion. So it's important, vitally important, that you understand that every person within your organization, within your department, within your team is a leader. And I think that is absolutely a key testament. The other thing, I think, the other key trait is recognition. I think this has led to the vacuum. And I know different countries are at different levels, and just giving you a UK perspective, even to this date, even to this time in the world, we in the UK are still fighting for pharmacy to be recognised. And I think that fight will continue. We're always against the nurses and the medical staff in terms of being recognised, but the tide is changing. And I think it's important that we continue this journey of recognition of pharmacy. And in particularly in Pakistan as well, is that it has to be an effort by everyone at every level, at every stage. We need to continually have that dialogue with people about recognizing pharmacy. And I think that's vitally important. So we've talked about humanity, we've talked about recognition. And I think the last thing we need to really focus on is our voice. We need to be collective and coherent in our messages. So I think the time to play politics in pharmacy has to stop. We need to unify and standardize our approach, both within countries, but also internationally. So one of the things that I want you to really understand is how do you start to talk the same language in leadership? How do you start to talk the same language in pharmacy? So this is a vital component in trying to stop the vacuum of leadership, the gap of leadership, is ensuring that we all talk from the same hymn sheet. So our dialogue, our messaging has to be similar. It's okay to have the debate internally, but when we are external, outside of pharmacy, we have to talk in a unified manner. The last thing I want to leave you with is mindset. Now, I could spend hours and hours talking about leadership, but one of the crucial things that we all boil down to is mindset. What mindset do we have? This diagram, this infographic is excellent. Most of the population, the 98% of the population, live in a comfort zone. And that comfort zone has a number of values to it, a number of mindsets to it, and it's articulated there. What I say to everyone is that learn to live in the 2%. Learn to live in the uncomfortable space. True leadership is looking at these values, such as living without limitations, such as getting the most out of your work and being confident in choosing things that are not the normal. That mindset is where true leadership happens. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes guidance, it takes mentorship to get to that. But I think it's vitally important to know that the long-term strategy of your any leadership journey is getting to a point where you're comfortable being uncomfortable. So mindset is everything. I know time is short, so I won't spend much on it. Just to say, there's lots of references that I put here. Take some time to go through this with you, and also at the same time gain the budding or the mentorship relationships, because that is needed to foster some of good leadership. So I won't take too much time, but just to wish you well, and also more importantly to say that I'm extremely proud with what Giving Back to Pharmacy has done in Pakistan, what it continues to do, and I wish you luck in all that you do. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Yousaf. Thank you so much for your time and the lesson learned from these slides. So our next in-line speaker is Dr. Jibran Bin Yousuf, HOD Pharmacy Services, NICVD, Pakistan. So Dr. Jibran, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, sir. Next voice from your side.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jibran Bin Yousuf, and my topic of presentation or discussion is like pharmacy response testing times. Time is short, so my discussion topic is relevant to this. So I would not take too much time. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इस एफर्ट को मैं अप्रिशिएट करना चाहूँगा जो कि सिद्दीकी साहब ने की है फॉर दिस प्लेटफॉर्म गिविंग बैक टू फार्मेसी इन पाकिस्तान, और उससे हम थ्रू आउट वर्ल्ड जो है फार्मेसी प्रोफेशन में पाकिस्तान के लिए कनेक्ट हो चुके हैं, और डेफिनेटली इट विल वर्क, और फार्मेसी में फ्यूचर फार्मेसी का बहुत अच्छा होगा आप सबकी कलेक्टिव अप्रोच से. सो अगेन अ डिस्क्लोजर, इट्स नो नीड टू डिस्कस फर्दर. I think my voice is clear. If कुछ distortion है तो मुझे please message कर दीजिएगा.
Dr. Jibran, your voice is clear. You can carry on.
So learning objective, I would, is it like, to explain, I will try to explain the challenges versus the opportunities and describe the significant role of pharmacists, think beyond limits and identify the gaps and to fill the efficiency in the system. I'm working with the public sector hospital nowadays. A few years back, I have joined this public sector hospital. So I would like to share my experience के वहाँ पे जाके मेरी क्या किस तरीके से जो मैंने learning की थी throughout my private career और उसको किस तरीके से implement करने की कोशिश की, तो उस aspect से हम थोड़ा सा discuss कर लेंगे. The land of opportunities is like public sector hospital pharmacy because of many reasons, because there is no pharmacy structure exist in public sector hospital pharmacy in Pakistan. So I will share a few initiatives and how pharmacy can deliver in this pandemic situation, measures and counter actions क्या हो सकते हैं, lesson learned हमने क्या किया और way forward क्या हो सकता है, presentation contents. So brief introduction of my NICVD, National Institute of Cardiovascular Diseases, is a government public sector hospital, which is mainly a cardiac specialty, and it's like a biggest, largest cardiac center throughout country. Karachi center is more than 900 bedded facility, but we have the satellite hospitals as well in the province of Sindh, 9 satellites, and a unique model of 14 chest pain units in different areas for emergency treatment. And this is basically total free of cost inpatient and outpatient care module. So in public sector hospital, like in pharmacy, what are the challenges and how we convert those challenges into opportunities for the progress of pharmacy? These are few highlights. So once I joined this public sector hospital. First of all, I have made my goals and objectives to start with the state-of-the-art pharmacy services at NICVD, and along with this small objective to start the BPRR. Those who are working with the quality projects or quality tools management में काम करते हैं उनको बहुत easily ये terms पता है, business process review and reengineering processes जो करंट प्रोसेस एग्जिस्ट करते हैं और आइडेंटिफाई गैप करें और उसके बेसिस पे अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स बना के हम किस तरीके से आगे चीज़ों को शेप अप कर सकते हैं. द सेकंड पार्ट इज फेज वाइज इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ फार्मेसी फंक्शनैलिटीज एंड सर्विसेज एज पर द मैनेजमेंट approvals. So first BPRR, ये बड़ा interesting slide है. इसमें once I joined, there was no pharmacy structure because there were only one pharmacist available to manage everything. The whole pharmacy operation is running through the pharmacy techs and porters and all that. So there was no medication management and review system. Was no satellite pharmacy, pharmacist availability. There is no clinical rounds, no floor stock and narcotic control. You can name it. No drug and poison information center, no sterile area, no only the outpatient services was there, but there is no electronic queue management system. There was only a manual working system. There is no pharmacy software or system, and there is no standard pharmacy or patient entertaining dispensing process was there. So ये हमारे business process review में ये gaps identify. On the basis of this we have tried to make our level best कि हम किस तरीके चीज़ों को execute कर सकते हैं और pharmacy को shape up दे सकते हैं. So my second objective was to phase-wise implementation of pharmacy functionalities and services. Is to make a proper pharmacy organogram and pharmacy spaces requirement ताकि needs fulfill की जा सकें. So currently we are working on centralized main pharmacy inpatient, which is more than 2,500 square footage area. It's about 3,000 plus. And pharmacy right now we are working on it, but we have already designed and approved those executive pharmacy and other pharmacy setups. So gradually we will implement those. So this is the basically organogram, which government sector में ये सब चीजें कराना, it's not an easy task. It's really tough job, but इसको हम effort कर रहे हैं कि हम organogram और hierarchy को जो है, you know well कि in government sector in Pakistan यहाँ पे एक position होती है, वो होती है pharmacist की जो throughout लेवल पे काम करती है. बट हमने ट्राई किया है कि इसके लेवल्स को बनाएं और उसकी हायरार्की को प्रॉपर इम्प्लीमेंट करें. और 50% ऑफ द जो वर्क है हमारा वो अप्रूव हो चुका है. वी आर वर्किंग कि हम इसको कंप्लीट इम्प्लीमेंट करें. So first our challenge was to implement the executive pharmacy clinic in Karachi. I'm just giving you the highlights of this executive clinic pharmacy. So what we have done is the executive clinic pharmacy. We come up with the pharmacy software complete deployment, including all the functionalities of software, the patient profiling, MMD, drug interactions, lot and expiry, specific drug labeling, staffing and pharmacist training, hiring, and state-of-the-art pharmacy services. So after that, or giving all the inputs, the pharmacy now become in that shape. This is our first project, जो कि हमने किया, executive pharmacy, including the labels and receipts and all ये pharmacy shape up हुई. This is the executive pharmacy model, which can contribute only 2 to 3% of the total volume of this NICVD. This is basically a commercial model to entertain the executive patients. So this is our first project. Then because we don't have the clinical pharmacy or inpatient pharmacy in place at the moment, so we have introduced the clinical pharmacy model in this hospital, and we are working with almost 12 clinical pharmacists right now, and we are providing the full-fledged clinical coverage to all our critical care areas and special care units, including the surgical east, west, north, south, and the divisions of the hospital. Throughout the hospital, we are providing clinical coverage, and our pharmacists are doing a really good job. They are managing everything, medication management and usage process, and doing the interventions. Initially we have started with 8,000, then gradually with the training of the healthcare team, and specifically working on the issues we have highlighted in our interventions. We try to develop the dilutions and training programs and other programs. So the interventions process now gradually decreasing. And we are working right now on pharmacovigilance and other antimicrobial stewardship program. The most unique program we have launched is pharmacist managed anticoagulation clinic. At the moment, we are running with 6 certified anticoagulation pharmacist at the moment, and the volume of this anticoagulation pharmacist managed anticoagulation clinic is too high. It's about 200 patients per day in normal conditions, not in this COVID condition, because we already reduced the volume of the patient, because it's like a problem situation nowadays. But we are managing this anticoagulation. I will tell you how we are managing this. So it's like a unique program in Pakistan. It's like a huge clinic, anticoagulation clinic we are managing, alhamdulillah. Now, I have shown you the executive pharmacy picture, which is a very small commercial unit, but this is the general OPD pharmacy. We changed the pharmacy structure and come up with this shape, and it's like a huge volume pharmacy. We are dealing with 2,000 patients per day in this OPD pharmacy, and this pharmacy is doing the same operations जो हमने executive pharmacy में किया, doing providing the same labels, direction of usage, and for each patient, and we are giving 3 months medication free of cost to all patients, maximum 3, and it costs around you can believe it's like 20 lakh rupees per day free of cost medication we are dispensing to those patients in normal days, but not now in COVID condition. So gradually we have moved on to our other satellites, like Sakha Pharmacy is our the second largest unit, and it's like a beautiful pharmacy we have, and having the pharmacy pneumatic tube system. So it's like a beautiful pharmacy we are managing here with the team of pharmacy trained and skilled pharmacists. And but all the operations are basically centrally controlled by the Karachi, and this Sakha Pharmacy is doing well. We have the team as well. So altogether, we are now staffing from 1 we have started, and now we becomes 100 staffing structure of pharmacy right now, and we are continuously working to increase the capacity of pharmacy as per the need and as per the expansions program. The third program was the Tendumat Khan, the TMK pharmacy is the same model. We have the team of pharmacy and pharmacy technician, pharmacy and technician, and doing the same policies and procedures and SOP as we are doing in Karachi, Sakkar, and this division, providing all the services, including the inpatient and the anticoagulation clinics as well. During this condition, COVID-19, we are working. What we did is like, मैं थोड़ा सा highlight कर दूं कि leadership पे हम बात कर रहे हैं. So I will not take too much time. We are working with minimum staffing, skeleton staffing के काम कर रहे हैं. We are providing all the flexibility to our staff, pharmacists and technicians with the rotational loss, flexible to working hours, and maximum relaxation with the ease of the pharmacist. Clinical pharmacy coverage हम on call visits कर रहे हैं, और जो हमारे पास COVID patients भी हैं उनकी भी monitoring हम कर रहे हैं, और जो उनके drug management और dosage management है वो through pharmacy हो रहा है, but it's on call visits. Promoting work from home, drug information हम mostly from home कर रहे हैं, और anticoagulation clinics हम from घर से ही manage कर रहे हैं. Now we worked with this model कि हमने जो 2,000 patients है उसको cut down करके with the all PPEs and जो protective gauge हमने लेके काम करना शुरू किया. So we reduced the process time from 2 to 3 hours to 10 to 15 minutes maximum. हमने इसका process को lean किया, जितने भी हमारे फैटी एक्टिविटीज थी उसको कट डाउन करके हमने पेशेंट ईज के एस्पेक्ट से, ताकि मिनिमम टाइम स्पेंड हो पेशेंट के हॉस्पिटल में, हमने इसको थोड़ा सा कट डाउन किया. Telehealth services हमने launch किए for anticoagulation management. It's not launched, we are already working, but you see the numbers is like during after the lockdown through hospitals भी हम manage करते हैं, from home भी हमारे pharmacists जो हैं वहाँ से manage कर रहे हैं. तो it's about 500 plus हमारी all together calls हम entertain करें. WhatsApp number के through patient अपनी INR reports वगैरह share करता है, और उसके through patients को properly guide किया जाता है with our pharmacy team. So the lesson learned we observed during this COVID situation. ये जो हमने observe किया है, ये मेरी अपनी perception है इस aspect में, मैं आप लोग भी से agree करें या ना करें. Training of pharmacists would require to handle this kind of difficult situation. Like pharmacists हम कहते हैं कि जी we are the front line defenders with the other healthcare providers. लेकिन जब हम अपने colleagues को देखते हैं कि वो 48 hours offer कर रहे हैं services अपनी, और इसके अलावा वो मौजूद हैं almost a week हमने observe किया मौजूद हैं. फार्मासिस्ट उस लेवल पे शायद उसकी प्रेजेंस जो है मुझे फील नहीं हो रही इन पाकिस्तान, मोस्टली के थ्रू आउट वर्ल्ड इस तरीके से काम चल रहा हो. लेकिन वहाँ पे ज़रूरत है फार्मासिस्ट को भी कि वो अपने आप को थोड़ा कम अप करे, वो नाइट्स में और दूसरी चीज़ों में अपने आप को थोड़ी परसेप्शंस को प्रैक्टिकल या इम्प्लीमेंटेशन फेज में लाने की ज़रूरत है. उसके लिए सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात यह है कि ट्रेनिंग की ज़रूरत है. The second part is the alternative plans for all operations and activities, because what we observe कि अब कोविड एक्टिविटी शुरू हुई तो हमने देखा कि हमारे मेजर ऑपरेशंस जो हैं वो सीज हो गए। तो अपनी कोर एक्टिविटीज़ के साथ हम कैसे कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं अपनी सर्विसेज इन पेशेंट या आउट पेशेंट एस्पेक्ट में, उसके लिए हमारे ऑल्टरनेटिव प्लान ज़रूर मौजूद होने चाहिए कि चाहे वो मैनुअल से ऑटो पे स्विचिंग है या ऑटो से मैनुअल पे स्विचिंग है, उसके हमारे पास प्लान्स रेडी हों ताकि हम इस तरह की कोई भी सिचुएशन हो उसको हम काउंटरैक्ट कर सकें। The third and most important part is a technology use. Nowadays के फ्यूचर हम देखते हैं वो टेक्नोलॉजी बेस करता है। अभी हम देखते हैं कि जो पेशेंट एक्सेस फार्मासिस्ट का है या हेल्थ केयर प्रोवाइडर्स का है वो थ्रू टेली हेल्थ की तरफ से ज़्यादा प्रोसीड हो सका है, और पेशेंट और फार्मासिस्ट हम कहते हैं कि जी मोस्ट एक्सेसिबल प्रोफेशन है फार्मेसी का, फार्मासिस्ट का। सो टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ उसमें उसके हिसाब से अपने आप को डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, अपनी फार्मेसीज़ को और अपने फंक्शंस को, अपने सिस्टम्स को, अपनी इन्वेंट्रीज को, जहाँ पे सिस्टम्स एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं वहाँ पे उसको सिस्टम पे अपनी तमाम चीज़ों को शिफ्ट करने की ज़रूरत है। Now the way forward. It's my observation that during the COVID time period, we have observed the comparative less patient volume during these days, but we can expect the high patient volume or influx after this COVID situation. So are we ready to handle this kind of challenge? हम मौजूद हैं इस capacity के साथ, क्या हमारी inventories उस हिसाब से build up हो चुकी हैं, क्या हमारी resources उस हिसाब से मौजूद हैं, क्या हमने इन्वेंट्रीज को अपने डेवलप किया हुआ है, क्या पेशेंट्स को हम किस तरीके से हैंडल कर सकते हैं। आई थिंक वी नीड टू प्लान ओवर ऑन ऑल दोज टॉपिक्स। Number two, the most important thing is the best time to do the BPR, which is business process review of all the activities and process and operations. इसलिए ज़रूरी है कि आपके पास ये टाइम मौजूद है। हम रूटीन डेज में अपने BPR को रिव्यू नहीं कर पाते। सो दो फार्मेसी मैनेजमेंट या लीडरशिप जो है वो इस वक्त इस बेहतर टाइम को यूटिलाइज कर सकती है ताकि अपने जो भी प्रोसेसेस हैं उनको लीन कर सके और उसमें एफिशिएंसीज बिल्ड कर सके या अपने न्यू प्रोजेक्ट्स जो है वो लॉन्च कर सके टू ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ अपकमिंग चैलेंजेस। और फॉर दैट वी कैन यूज़ द FMEA, फेलियर मोड इफेक्ट एनालिसिस, या डिफरेंट टूल्स जो मौजूद हैं ताकि अपनी परफॉर्मेंस को गेज कर सकें और क्वालिटी प्रोजेक्ट्स को लॉन्च कर सकें ताकि एफिशिएंसी सिस्टम में आ सके। फॉर एग्जांपल इन्वेंट्री शॉर्टेज के एस्पेक्ट से हम कोई प्रोजेक्ट कर सकते हैं, या इन्वेंट्री शॉर्टेज कैसे कम अप हो सकती है वो हम उसको रिव्यू कर सकते हैं। प्रिस्क्रिप्शन बाउंस जो आउट पेशेंट का बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है उसको हम किस तरीके से सेट कर सकते हैं ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम। टर्न अराउंड टाइम फॉर द इन पेशेंट सप्लाईज एंड आउट पेशेंट सप्लाईज मोस्ट, उसको हम किस तरीके से सेटल कर सकते हैं। सो दीज आर द डिफरेंट थिंग्स जिसको हम रिव्यू करके और कर सकते हैं। मेडिकेशन एरर्स, वन ऑफ द मेजर चैलेंज फॉर स्पेशली फॉर द फार्मेसीज एंड पाकिस्तान के मेडिकेशन एरर्स को कैसे मिनिमाइज किया जा सकता है। तो वी कैन डू दैट मेडिकेशन एरर्स ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम। वी यूटिलाइज आवर टीम, हम उसको क्लिनिकली थोड़ा हमने पूरी फार्मेसी टीम को इंगेज किया और उनको हमने एक डॉक्यूमेंटेड फॉर्म में लेकर आए कि फार्मेसी न्यूज़ लेटर जो हम पब्लिश कर रहे होते हैं उसको सप्लीमेंट्री हमने कोविड-19 एडिशन के एस्पेक्ट से ये लॉन्च किया है। और इसमें हमारे जितने भी फार्मासिस्ट हैं उनकी पार्टिसिपेशन है, क्लिनिकल फार्मासिस्ट की एंड स्पेशली द फार्मेसी टेक्नीशियंस जो हैं उनकी भी पार्टिसिपेशन बहुत ज़्यादा है। तो वी यूटिलाइज दैट टाइम फॉर द क्लिनिकल एक्टिविटीज़, रिसर्च एंड पब्लिकेशंस, और इस एस्पेक्ट में भी हमने अपने मोड को थोड़ा सा डाइवर्ट किया है। So this is all about my presentation. Hope you enjoyed, and I love to give you answers या इससे related कोई भी queries हैं I would be available. आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।